Welcome to Kinder Things. I'm your host, Mike Shaw, and on this podcast, we're embarking on a journey to get a glimpse into the wondrous world of kindness. I'm as excited as you are to meet new guests, hear their stories, and learn from their insights. Just trying to make this podcast a platform for the little things, because that's where we see the real magic of life at work. Thanks for listening. Hey, Keith, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here today.
Mike, it's great to be here. I've been an admirer of yours for a long time, so to now be on your podcast makes me happy.
Great. Where are you currently?
Right now, I am in the Williamsburg district of Brooklyn, and I've lived here for about 8 years now, and I've been in New York City for 12 years, and I love it. It's always been a dream of mine to move here, and somehow I made it happen.
Awesome. So New York City is home now.
This is it.
I'm currently in Joshua Tree, California, and it is 2025. We are 3 days into the new year, which happens to be my birthday.
Yes, Mike, happy birthday. I almost forgot for a second, even though I said happy birthday to you earlier today. So to be here on this show with you today, recording on your birthday, but I love it. It's a good synchronicity thing, I think, which we often encounter.
Thanks. We'll definitely get into some synchronicities. It's been really nice so far, and I'm happy to be spending part of the day chatting with you. You are the creator, the host, and the executive producer behind my personal favorite podcast, The New Scene. And I was just hoping today you would share some of your journey with The New Scene and your journey through this medium of podcasting. How and when did the idea for The New Scene formulate?
It came to me in 2019. I'm living here in New York City, right? And I'm going to shows, and I'm going by myself 99% of the time because I don't have any friends up here who listen to the music that we listen to. And it would make me sad because you know how it was going to shows when we were coming up. We would know 50 people at any show we went to. We would usually know someone if we went to like any show in the tri-state area. We had such a community, and I missed it so much. I came across all these pages on Instagram like Delaware 90s Hardcore and Northwest Music Scene, and just different scenes had different sites on Instagram. So I was like, oh, I'm going to make one. This is how I can reconnect with this. So I did that. It was called the Northeast Scene. At that time, I was talking to Tommy like every day because he was like my go-to guy to just message every day and send music to and talk about stuff with. So I said to him, I'm like, hey, I made this page, the Northeast Scene. Let's post stuff to it. I have a bunch of ticket stubs and flyers. I know you have stuff too. If you have stuff, send it to me and I'll post it. And then pretty quickly, the page was taking off, because I was on it all the time. I was putting a lot of work into it. But I said to Tommy, listen, if we get this to over 1,000 followers, the Northeast Scene account, let's do a podcast. So we hit 1,000 followers, and I booked a hotel room in Center City, Philadelphia, and I was like, we're going to record the first 4 episodes in this hotel room, one of which was with you, Mike.
Yeah, that was such an honor.
We did 4 in a day, and by the end of the day, I felt like I was going to pass out. It was like, because you know how it is recording this. After I record 1, I have to go lay down in bed for half an hour. So 4 in a row.
That's incredible.
Forget about it. Yeah, but I'll never forget like setting everything up in the hotel room the night before. I was like, what am I doing? I was like, I can't do this. Like, what? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to set this stuff up. No one's going to listen to this. And I just pushed through all of that. The first 4 were recorded. I was going to just do it whenever, but then the worldwide pandemic hit in March of 2020. So we posted, I think, right before or right around when everything was shutting down. So I was like, I'm just going to post all the episodes we have right now in March. And then it's been weekly ever since. Yeah, that's how it all got started.
That was surely trial by fire, and I'm glad that you had Tommy D there as the co-host so you can start learning how to use your voice and use this medium podcasting. But I know over the months you and Tommy parted ways with the show. You kept it going, and you eventually got signed to Iodine Recordings.
Yeah, our first year of doing the show, we got signed to Iodine Recordings, and then Tommy was on the first 10 or 11 Iodine episodes, I think, which is mind-blowing to me because I didn't expect that. I didn't know I wanted to be like partnered with a label because I saw that some other podcasts were doing that. And I was like, oh, maybe we can do that. So that was the goal. And then I had Casey from Iodine Recordings on as a guest. And then, I don't know, a couple of months later, he hit me up about partnering with the label. And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So that was really unexpected, but really cool.
Yeah. You as a solo podcast host, you're really stepping into your voice. You're stepping into your power. There are so many facets to your voice and your storytelling that are intriguing to me as a listener. And I was wondering how much comedy plays a part in this medium for you.
There was a lot more comedy in the old days because Tommy was there. I had someone to bounce stuff off of, and we had this dynamic where like I was like the serious guy and he was like the goofy guy, and I would kind of like poke at him. And it was like this dynamic. And then I would sometimes make bits or like scenarios for us to do on the show. Cause I like Howard Stern show. I was thinking of like radio talk shows like that. I was doing that kind of thing. But when the show became just me, I like to talk about serious stuff, and I'm like a pretty serious person. And I just like to talk about, I don't know, life experience, what you've been through, where you came from, how you got there, how you maintain. So the show has gone in that direction in the more recent years.
And I think you're really able to subtly weave comedic moments. I know each week there's at least one part that I generally have to rewind because I'm laughing out loud. So good job with just like nonchalantly or subtly adding levity to some of the deeper subjects with the use of wit.
Yeah, thank you. I throw in like kind of like a dry commentary thing. I like that. That can be fun.
I hear that. Yeah. You've also reconnected with your voice and discovered the long lost art of conversation, which in the growing digital age seems to be a rare thing. And you are able to curate such a comfortable and safe space with your guests. And these are people in the music scene that you and I have looked up to our whole lives. When I listen to an episode of the New Scene, it just feels like I'm hanging out with you and some of my heroes.
That's my favorite thing. And that's one of the main reasons I still do it, because I can tell when they're really comfortable and having a good time on the show. You can tell when they've done a bunch of interviews in a day. They'll be like, yeah, this was great. This was a good one. I can tell when I made an impact versus maybe some other interviews that they've done. And I love that. That makes it feel like it's worthwhile for me.
Yeah, and I listen to the New Scene each week. Every Monday, there's a new episode, which is incredible from a work ethic standpoint. Very incredible feat.
Yeah.
But even if I have not heard the band, once I listen to the podcast and hear their story and attach narrative to their artwork or their music, then I'm invested and I'm rooting for that person. Recently, you found a box of old cassette tapes of you recording your own talk show. How old were you when you were doing that?
I must have started doing that when I was like 7, 8, around there. I had like 8 different talk shows. Wow. It was based on horror movie characters. I had the Crypt Keeper show. I had a Freddy Krueger show. I had a Chucky Lee Ray show, the Child's Play doll. I had like a serious talk show that I tried doing at one point. So I had like 4 or 5 different shows and I like an entire shoebox filled with old cassette tapes. So that made me remember that I've just had this unending creative energy that I've had to put out somewhere.
Yeah, and whenever you embark on a creative endeavor, you never really know how it's going to affect or ripple out. I've had multiple synchronicities and really magical experiences just from listening to the New Scene. For example, one time I was driving and I was listening to you talk. You were saying how you got into hardcore music around 1997, 1998. And right as you said that line, like, yeah, I got back into hardcore 97, 98. I looked and the car in front of me was license plate KRM1998. And that's your initials. And
no.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
Impossible. And it's little
Impossible.
moments like that are so tiny, but like yet imperceptible or impossible sounding that I cherish and gives me inspiration.
That blows my mind. Maybe life really is just a simulation.
Whoa.
Wow.
Speaking of creative projects, you have another creative project on the horizon. This is going to be a big year, 2025, for your band Memory Entry. And I was lucky enough to be at your first show, and I'm just so excited. I was just hoping you would tell us a little bit how that band got started and the concept behind it.
Yeah, it started as just a jam session between myself and Armando, the bass player, and our former drummer, Chris. He was like, hey, do you want to jam? Sure, I'll jam. So we jammed a couple times before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic hits, started getting together again in summer of 21, just slowly piecing songs together. And then I joined the Darling Fire in 2023, and I was touring with them, playing bass for most of that year when we played shows. But that same year, I wasn't invested in Memory Entry because we couldn't settle on a name. We couldn't really settle on a direction.
Mm-hmm.
We just weren't on the same page. And then I got struck like a lightning bolt with the most intense creative thing I've ever felt in my life.
Whoa.
I played a game. It's a Doom mod. It's like the original game Doom, but it's like this special mod of it, right? That's like based on liminal space and House of Leaves and different horror elements that they all put into this game. And it had such a magnificent impact on me. And at the same time, like and in my real life, I was going through something that was similar to what the story of the game is, right? Like I kept having these recurring dreams. Relationships from the past would be in the dreams. Locations from my past would be in the dreams. Same places, same people over and over again to the point where it felt real. So it all coalesced into this. I'm like, I have to do something with this. I have to write a screenplay, or I have to write a movie, or I have to do something with all of this. And then I was like, wait, I'm in this band. Let me put it into the band. So there's a song that plays throughout the game that's called Memory equals Entry // it's got like a wild title, so that's where I got the band name from.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's like an ambient song, and then the story of the band so far kind of follows a cohesive storyline about it. It starts out because it started out with me writing songs complaining about usual stuff like relationship didn't work out, I'm mad at these people, all this stuff. But then the idea of this dream world came into place. And I don't know what the dream world is, but I'm finding it. And there's work that has to be done in the dream world to fix what's going on in real life. And that's kind of the story of the band.
Interesting. Well, you definitely are a powerful dreamer, and now you have two creative vehicles to channel your voice through. And I was fortunate enough to get an advanced copy of your new EP by Memory Entry. And the first time I listened to it was driving from Joshua Tree to Nevada through Death Valley through the desert. And it was perfect. I listened to the whole EP probably 6 times over, and I love it so much, and was just wondering, when is that coming out and what was the concept behind it?
The announcement date will be soon. I can't give it away yet, but it will be out soon. It will be announced soon. It is our debut EP, and when it comes out, I hope everybody enjoys it as much as Mike did. And the concept is discovering this dream world.
Cool.
That there's so much more out there than like the everyday complaints, right? Like the small petty complaints of like this person upset me or this thing upset me, you know, other dimensions.
Yeah.
Other worlds, dream worlds. So this EP is the journey from petty complaints to discovering that there's a lot more out there, and we don't know quite what it is, but we're stepping into the unknown, which I think is a good metaphor for the band too.
Beautiful. Love it. Are there any shows or tours planned for 2025 for Memory Entry?
Yes, there are shows being planned right now that I can't announce because they're not finalized, but I want to make this band the focus. You know, I don't know if I can like quit my job and go on tour for months at a time, or if that would ever even be an option, but I can certainly do weeks of shows here and there. I would just like to use all my time off from work and going a week tour of the East Coast, going a week tour of the Midwest, going a week tour of the West Coast. And I want to play as much as possible because playing is what makes me the most happy. After our show in August, Mike, where the legendary This Day Forward reunited and Memory Entry was lucky enough to be able to open for you at Bowery Ballroom, I was on a high for like 2 or 3 months after that show. Like nothing.
Yeah, that was really special.
Yeah, it was like nothing I've ever felt. And I truly felt for the first time that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
It sounds like you've garnered a lot of musical experience through the podcast and a lot of new connections made through the podcast medium and the new scene that you can now take it with this new vehicle and transform it into something new.
Yeah, at the end of every interview, I ask if they're willing to do a station ID where they say, hey, this is so-and-so from this band and you're listening to the new scene. Mm-hmm. And I also say, here is my band Memory Entry and will you take me on your next tour?
Nice. Good.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that.
I don't do that.
I would never do that. That's no.
That's amazing. So we're winding down on time here, and at the end of every episode, I do ask the guest to choose a number between 10 and 320.
You know what I'm going to pick, don't you?
Oh, I know. 108.
108.
All right.
Yes.
I was already turning to page 108 to get your quote for the day. The quote is by Joseph B. Worthlin. Kindness is a passport that opens doors and fashions friends. It softens hearts and molds relationships that can last lifetimes. Joseph B. Worthlin.
That's what I needed to hear because my default can be not good feelings. If I feed those feelings, that's the direction it's going to take me. And so every day is a battle for me to not do that and focus on kindness.
Yes.
So that's a very good reminder to feed those feelings of kindness rather than the opposite.
Nice. I also choose my own quote at the end of each episode for the guest. And the quote I found for you is a really short one, but powerful. It's by Jen Mueller. And the quote is, the only way to find your voice is to use it. The only way to find your voice is to use it.
I like that.
And for you, you really have become a trusted source and a beacon of guidance and inspiration, not only to myself, but to many others. And I wish you the best in continuing to find your voice.
Mike, thank you for having me on the show. You've been one of my best friends for years and someone I look up to, and I hope you know how much I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, and thanks so much for spending time with me on my birthday.
Happy birthday, bro.
Worthlin, that sounds like something we would call Colin. I can delete that.
No, you got to leave it.